First and foremost, I should thank BPAC for introducing me to Mr. Hari, because he approached BPAC saying he'd like either Kiran or Mohandas or me to be there as part of his celebration in launching the book. And I was a little hesitant because I knew I had a very busy schedule. And if I'm going to come for a book launch, I should have the time to go through at least a part of the book, if not the entire book, before the event. And he, of course, Mr. Hari, kept asking when he could come, and it wasn't easy for me to find a time, because I just didn't want to spend 1 minute with him and say, okay, fine, I'll be there. I wanted to talk to him to understand what he had behind this, what was working in his mind when he wrote this book. Finally, it just so happened that I think it was Sunday.
Sunday.
Yes, a Sunday morning he arrived, and I told my staff that Mr. Hari will be coming, and please ask him what he'd like to drink. I'll come and join him, because I just about finished my rehearsal then. So my staff came and said, no, he doesn't want anything. Then I went down, and then I said, Mr. Hari, you didn't have anything, and you've been waiting for the last 15 minutes. So at least can I get you a glass of water? And he said, no, ma'am, not even water. I'm fasting. So I said, any particular reason why you're fasting? He said, no, it's Ramzan. I was a little taken aback. I said, Mr. Hari, am I getting your name wrong because you're fasting for Ramzan? He said, no, I enjoy fasting. And I fast on many occasions, and Ramzan is one of them. I said, but do you do the entire fast or just pick out a couple of days? And he said, no, I do all I think it's 30?
30 days.
30 days. All the 30 days I fast. I get up at 5:30 in the morning. I don't drink even water. And at the end, in the evening, I break the fast. And he also reads the Quran. So I was quite taken aback that to enjoy fasting is one thing, but to do it as a discipline. And he's been doing this for 11 or 12 years. So he said there is a chapter in the book, why he started doing this. And so when I took the book, I must have started reading it from Monday. So I read this book, and the first category which he spoke about has this chapter on how he and why he started keeping the Ramzan fast. It is amazing to know that his entire intention, or his deliberate intention to keep the fast, came because one of his workers, who was not working and delivering whatever he was supposed to do on time, he got a little upset with him, and I asked him, why are you delaying this so much? And he said, no, sir, I'll give it to you, kept on delaying. And then he asked him that, is something wrong with you? Are you not keeping well? No, I'm just keeping the Ramzan fast. So he said, then why don't you have a sip of water? You'll be fine. He said, no, in our fast, we are not even allowed to have water. So he said, okay, that's fine. When you go back in the evening, have water. You'll be completely rejuvenated again. So he said, no, I have to wait till the fasting time is over. And he said, oh God, I'm sure it must be quite simple. You're making too much out of it. So he said, aap karke to dekhiye, try it, and maybe you'll know. So that prompted him to start. And before he started, the worker told him, I'll explain to you, there are certain rules that you have to follow. And if you can, and the way maybe the worker explained it to him, he got so involved and so interested in wanting to do this Ramzan fast that he's been keeping it. And if you read that chapter, you realize that how beautifully he's spoken about uh, the problems that come out of the communal disharmony, and about how he saw it when tough times are there, like the riots in Gujarat, and before the riots, the earthquake in Gujarat, and how he found that at that point of time, nobody even bothered about which caste or community he belonged. So the one who stretched the hand and the one who took that help, or who held the hand, neither of them was worried which community you came from. And he's kind of the threading that he has done so beautifully in that chapter. And then we were chatting about some other situation, and he said, I've gone through very bad times in life. And I said, from the bad times, we must all remember that there must have been good moments too before it reached bad times. And then he spoke about 3 shirts. And there is a chapter on 3 shirts, which is how beautifully his children woke him up to it. Because he had the most beautiful memories about those shirts with his wife, and how after a certain point of time, when they parted ways, those shirts reminded him about the pleasant and the unpleasant times, and he didn't want to carry that baggage with him to his new apartment, and he left it behind. And I believe his daughter asked him, which is all there in the book, where his daughter has asked him that, Dad, why are you leaving it behind? He said, I don't want to carry things that are not going to give me happy memories. And she said, no, I want it because I remember it for the happy moments. That each shirt was used, one on his engagement, one when he first met his wife, and I think one when he got married. So these are most, and how he has linked his own personal life as in personal situations, and made us all, at least me, when I read that book, these couple of chapters that I read, it made me think that everything that we learn, all the spirituality that we imbibe, is out of situations in our life, good or bad. And there is always something good to pick out of even the bad moments. And I guess when you're very young, there are very few people who become very spiritual. You have to have gone through tough times to become spiritual. And I'm sure he must have gone through it, because the book is very interestingly spiritual. Most of us think spiritual means God and sitting and doing prayer and puja and rituals. And that's the first thing I said to him. I said, I'm very religious. I believe in God, but I don't believe in rituals. I don't believe that rituals can change our lives. It gives us strength. And then he said, it's strange, but every little thing that we have chatted today is there in this book, in some form or the other, in some chapter or the other. And the last chapter that I read from the 3rd category was on God. And he analyzed God as G, generator, O, operator, and D, destroyer, which is Brahma, Vishnu, and Maheshwara. And how beautifully he has written that chapter. It's very simple. It's people, anybody can understand. You don't have to be highly intellectual to read, because most people don't want to, the youngsters don't want to read books which are very spiritually based. They still feel, okay, that's for older people. But this book is so simple, and I should congratulate him for the simple language he's used, the anecdotes that he has put in, and without feeling embarrassed about relating certain very, very personal happenings in his life. He has put it together, and he has linked them together and brought about this very beautiful book, many parts, many answers. I'm sure everybody will find something which will relate to some aspect in their life. And I congratulate you for all the effort that you've taken to put this together. And I think people are going to enjoy reading it. All the best.
Thank you.